And today I have with me Chris-Beth Cowie. Did I call your name well?
That's
Did I
perfect.
pronounce it well?
Perfect.
Amazing. And she is a leading social impactor, mentor, speaker, entrepreneurship instructor, business advisor, and the founder of Empowered for X. You can see the name. That's the name. She used that in joining. And believe me, our company is giving hope to a lot of social entrepreneurs, advocates, and business owners here in Canada. They're doing amazingly well, and she's made a difference in the community. So today she's going to be talking to us about developing a social enterprise. A lot of immigrants come here, and sometimes we just go into the business world, but we need to understand the nitty-gritty of the business world here in Canada. Right. So, Chris, if you are ready, I see you're trying to do something. Are you trying to pin something? Are you trying to?
I was just letting the network know that I'm here so more people can tune in.
Oh, thank you. So, guys,
Yeah.
please share as well. Share with folks. I know it's a weekend and it's summer here in Canada, so a lot of people are going out with their family and all that. But it's okay. Don't worry. This information is evergreen, so you can always get to watch it on my YouTube channel as well. So, Chris, thank you so much for joining once again.
Hey.
How was your week?
So far, so good. We're gearing up actually for social enterprise business development challenge next week. So a lot of communication in that space, as well as just the day-to-day stuff. We support entrepreneurs with some financial literacy. So in partnership with the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, we've been putting on about 10 workshops on a bi-weekly basis over the next 20 weeks to be able to provide folks, that financial literacy development as well.
Oh, great. What was the highlight of your week?
Oh, highlight. I think one of the things that I sometimes take for granted is, just getting some time outdoors. I love the outdoors. I think being in a relaxing space, I think sometimes I am super on the go, busy, back-to-back meetings, and just to be able to breathe. So that was a good highlight on a personal note, but company-wise, I think just people coming back and saying thank you, I would definitely say add fuel to the fire to keep the momentum, So we held a workshop last week, and this week someone came in and said, it was amazing. They got a lot of value, and that's really what I'm here to talk to the network about today, and just to talk about some really cool things that are coming down the pipeline from a funding perspective for business owners, but really the structure. It's having a sustainable business, right? Is your business viable, able to run and sustain itself? So that's what highlights. How about yourself?
I should think that the highlight of my week was me getting this very important email that just really renewed my sense of gratitude. Sometimes you're worried about a lot of things, and then God is working on the back end, and then the email or the call or something just dropped, and you're in that gratitude moment. So that was the highlight of my week, because I could see that it was more like God trying to remind me of the fact that, listen, you're not alone, and that just keep pushing, right? And consistency is power. So that was the highlight of my week, just because I always tell people that consistency is power. So for me to now receive something that sort of like, confirms that for me as a person. So yeah, but beyond that, being alive, the weather is friendly. It was a little bit chilly sometime this week. And I told people, I said, listen, there's a little bit of climate change going on right now. This is summer. What in the world is this early morning cold? I go to drop my kids at school, and we're all waiting. We're all in the sweater. It's raining. I'm like, you know what? It's okay. Maybe because of the wildfire going on, and then the water is pouring down to say, listen, you've got no space, in this place. That's my own theory. So it's really nice to have you here once again. My first question to you, and I'm just going to shoot right ahead, is what inspired you to start your organization?
Yeah. So a great question. It came out of my own personal need when I first started Empowered Facts, really looking for business support to help myself go forward. And I was blessed to find different organizations, be it through the city of Brampton, Mississauga, to be able to help me learn and grow on my own entrepreneurial journey, but really from the perspective of wanting to help other entrepreneurs like myself. One of my business mentors at the time had said to me, Chris-Beth, where do you think you're on the scale of speaking, training, and supporting entrepreneurs? And I was like, maybe a D, like if you're looking at the alphabet, choose a place. And I chose a D. And she's like, I would definitely say you're further along than that. But anyways, let's go with the D. And then she said, look back and you will see there's A, B, and C people that you can help. And really that from that perspective, I consider myself a lifelong learner. I'm reading the books, I'm showing up to the sessions, getting a ton of information and applying it to my own business. And I'm really grateful and honored to have the opportunity to help others on their journey as well. So I'm really excited about that.
Oh, great. And how has it been since you started? What year did you start and how has it been since you started?
Okay, so that's a great question as well. So it's really been an evolution. So I would say that in 2014, I officially registered my business as a training company, a sole proprietorship. And that was kind of the step into going into schools, going into community organization, talking about leadership, personal development, and from there, entrepreneurship as a whole. And so the first version of the business model back then, we were called Empowered for Excellence. And, social media doesn't take all of that word. So I wanted to come up with something catchier. So we ended up with Empowered for X in the short form. But really, version one of the business was me showing up, doing all of the things in the business model. So from the CEO to the person delivering the value. And it's a lot for one person. And that's what I discovered on my own journey. I read a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. I recommend it to all entrepreneurs. It really shifted my perspective about what I was building. If I'm sick or I want to go on vacation and the business is solely dependent on myself, there's no business, right? And so that was a huge wake-up call for me. But fast forward in 2017, 2018, really looking at doing business differently. And so in 2018, really from a perspective of saying we want to run differently, build a team around it, have proper systems, and go from there. I opened Empowered for X, a physical location in Brampton, where we have a co-working space as well as a training and consulting firm.
Great. And how would you say the business dynamics has changed between 2014 and 2023 as a business owner?
Hey, going from a party of one to now 5+ entrepreneurs or employees, subcontractors working with us on a daily basis. I love team, and I realize that we can only grow in community. I oftentimes remind myself and my audiences that, I have value, so you have value. The things that we do should be of value, but in community, that's where the magic happens. It's maximized and really able to help people grow and flourish in a sustainable way, right? And so I would say from a team perspective, definitely yes, but looking at some of the processes and tools and systems that we've been able to put in place, it's simplified the journey for a lot of entrepreneurs and has enabled us to really scale our operations, which is really exciting. We have 2 additional satellite locations, one in Scarborough and then one in Ottawa. And we're working on additional partnerships and things like that as well. So I would say the biggest shift for me is a vehicle where you can build team around to help you grow. Because when I'm sick or wanting to go on vacation, I can tell you I'm happy because money is still coming in, the business is still running, value is still being delivered. So that's really from the business model that we promote.
Nice. And, just going a little bit off the official questions, how do you manage it all? I'm hearing Scarborough. I'm hearing you have a business partnership. I understand there is structure in place, but at the end of the day, you're still the key decision maker in Empower for X.
Yeah.
So how do you manage it all, the home, your own self-care, as a business owner, and making sure that business does not suffer? How do you manage it all?
Hey, and this is where I tell people, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen. So I kind of use that as kind of like my benchmark. I mean, I do factor in some free time and space and like stuff like that, because I was even sharing with our youth entrepreneurs this morning, if you don't have your health, you have nothing, right? And so taking care of yourself, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, has to be at the forefront. And then the value, the God-given talents that we have and we want to share with others, it just comes down to prioritizing family, friends, all of the above. But if you're in this as a full-time entrepreneur, understanding that your business is also a key priority to your professional and your livelihood. So for me, the biggest shift, and still a work in progress, I like to do many things, and I'm oftentimes starting. And so over the past couple of years, the shift has really been about putting some stuff on hold and trying not to boil the ocean all at once, right? Going deep versus going wide in so many different ways.
Amazing. And that's powerful. Going deep, I think it's going wild. One step at a time. Do what you can when you can. Don't load up too much at the same time, and structure yourself very well. So I hear you. Now, for a young person, just anyone who wants to start a social enterprise here in Canada, what are some of the advice you would give to them? Someone, were to come to you right now to say, hi, Chris-Beth, I have this passion. I just want to start my social enterprise in Canada. I'm trying to navigate the system. What are some of the things, what are the strategies you ask them to put in place?
Hey, and I appreciate the question. So I come from a background in the nonprofit world. I was all about let's change the world. My personal mantra is make a difference. At age of 16, I had a life-changing experience. I go back to that because it is so important to be able to build community in a sustainable way. So I started in the nonprofit space and realized quickly that the nonprofit business model as a whole had a couple flaws, and the major flaw was tied to the sustainability of the organization. I'm sure, Esther, you've heard of so many organizations doing amazing things, and because the donors didn't show up to give them money, or the government didn't give them a grant, or an organization didn't give them money, their doors were forced to close. And in my own personal journey, one day I heard, you were fired because we have no more money to pay you. So I lived this, right? So that's one business model. The other one is looking at it from the for-profit version, right? So it's like, hey, we're starting a business. It's all about the capital. And you think about the traditional for-profit business, right? It's all about the money at any cost. People die, all of this stuff, And so I can't say that I engaged in the corporate world from that lens, but I have been in organizations whereby the corporate social responsibility was at the forefront. So corporations now wanting to do good. So you have corporate social responsibility. Where social enterprise come in is in that middle space, right? It is the ultimate, as I like to say, business for good. My business partner says enterprising for good, but it is really from either a nonprofit space or a for-profit space. You're saying, the core mission of what we're doing is to make a positive difference, whether it be socially or environmentally. We have a mission to make a difference. On top of that, and make a difference, right? So on top of that, you're layering on the business aspect of it. So you're now offering to the marketplace. You're offering to the marketplace either a product or service that will generate you money to support the impact piece, right? The core mission. And so for someone that's coming into, the space just starting out, I try to give them that perspective. It has to be about the people, the planet in that one area. It has to be about the profits that's going to be generated in that, and looking at overall and a full-on integration. I'm not about greenwashing. We do good and you can track it. It has to be tracked. It has to be documented. It has to be ingrained in the DNA of that business. And an example that I would give, just for people trying to get the perspective, you think of, and Esther, I'm sure you know the Salvation Army, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So the Salvation Army has the thrift store, which is their social enterprise. The Salvation Army is a nonprofit charitable organization in that way, and they have the ability to, go and solicit the donations, different things like that. But they now create the thrift store, which is selling clothes and products, all of that. And that money, at least 50% of that money goes back to the parent organization. From a business perspective, you're looking at companies here in Brampton, where I'm located. There's a cupcake store, and their employees are people with Down syndrome. So the cupcakes and designs and all of this stuff. So they're for profit, making a positive difference by who they hire to work in the store, right? So there's for profit, non-profit, but the core focus of that is to say we are enterprising for good.
That's powerful. And so what business model would you advise, based on everything you said now, a social entrepreneur to embark on here in Canada?
Yeah, so I mean, what I am seeing, and based on the pandemic happening, before the pandemic, a lot of people come to us to write grants for them, and we love that. However, the shift that we're seeing in the grants in particular, even for nonprofits and for-profits that are getting grants of that magnitude, is in the social enterprise lane, right? We see businesses also in innovation and technology getting a lot of funding. What is coming down the pipeline over the next 6 to 8 months, and I think a lot of people need to get ready for, is the social finance fund. The government, in partnership with other organizations, they're about to release I believe it's almost $800 million in the social finance space. So what does that mean? Yes, it may not be a grant, but as I said, the grants over the past couple years that we've seen, vast majority going towards social enterprises. And then this pool of funding where businesses are now going to access different loans or different opportunities in that way is geared specifically to social enterprises. So what does that tell you? You need to be in this space, right? So that's why with our funding challenge next week, if you were to go to our link in our bio, you can read about it, learn about it, and start ideating, start building out content to structure your business in a way to be positioned for any sort of funding that comes down that pipeline.
That's powerful. And what are some mistakes you see social entrepreneurs make here in Canada? And even people who are into non-for-profits, what sort of mistakes do they make, and how can they stop making those mistakes?
Yeah, so I mean, in my own journey, I would say one of the biggest thing is documentation, right? The question is, what impact have you done? And prior to us really getting structured accordingly, yeah, I think I engage with X number of people, and it's like, okay, show me the report, show me the thing. So that's why I come back to, it's not just, I could say, no, they want you to show, right? They want to see the impact beyond today, right? How are you tracking that and all of these things? So documentation is really important. And, in our funding challenge next week, we're talking about impact measurement, because if you don't measure it, again, it doesn't happen. If it's not in my calendar, I don't do it, right? So you have to measure, and Peter Drucker says, measure what matters. And if we're talking about being social entrepreneurs, we have to measure it. The other thing, you know, from just a business structure component that we see oftentimes is people not being financially sound. And one of the things that I encourage people to do is get an accountant or a bookkeeper on your team. If you don't have that skill set, you will definitely be suffering in that place long term.
That's perfect. And speaking of, you know, getting an accountant, that leads me to the other question, which is funding grants. And it's like I've been in spaces where a couple of entrepreneurs would say, oh, they applied for this particular funding and grants, but it never comes. They don't pick them. So what are some of the things? So I'm going to have a two-part question now. What are some of the things you think they might be doing wrongly when they apply for this grant? And secondly, you know, how can they apply, you know, for grant? How do you know what kind of grant to apply for? Because one thing I've come to realize here in Canada is it's not every grant that applies to your organization. Just because the money is available doesn't mean that it's the brand strategy, you know, they want for that grant. So that's those are the two questions that I want to ask you. The mistakes they make, and, you know, what can they do? But how do you identify the grant that is meant for your organization?
Yeah, I think great questions. You know, mistakes, I think to your point, and the truth is, not every grant that you write after is guaranteed, right? The granting system is very competitive. One of the areas that we've seen people miss when writing grants is that knowledge about who the grant is for, you know, getting to know the funders personally in that way. Yeah, getting to know the funders, what is their mission, what is their vision, and if you don't have that insight knowledge, oftentimes funders have info sessions that you can show up to ask questions and do a deeper dive. Our team is showing up to those meetings. So, you know, it is important to get the knowledge and insight of the funder. There is, if folks are subscribed to our newsletter, we do we point people to the business finder, a business benefits finder. It is on the Government of Canada's website, where it asks you a series of questions about your business, and then it will populate some of the granting opportunities that you would be eligible for, right? Reading the eligibility criteria. Some people don't do it. You know, having a project plan, and this is where, again, connecting with someone who's great with budgeting and planning, a bookkeeper, accountant, would help you support that as well. So I would say those are kind of the main, like, where do you go? How do you know you're ready? You have to just read the eligibility criteria. There is no guarantee, and I can tell you in our own journey, we have applied for grants, didn't get it the first year, got it the second year. Didn't get it the first or second year, got it the third year, right? So it just, sometimes it's persistent, so you're building a rapport, but the level of getting more insight. So when we don't get a grant, we call them, we try to reach out. What could we have done better? And do that. One of the things that our company that we support folks with is developing the skills to write a robust grant. We call it our grant writing blueprint, whereby you can go through a previous grant and granting application that was out there that is still very relevant. If you can write that, or we recommend you customize to whatever you're doing. You've already written the grant. It is about being consistent with your message and sharpening those elements.
Thank you for that. And what are some of the grants that are out there right now, you know, for folks to explore? Are there any grants right now for social entrepreneurs, you know, to help them scale their businesses?
Yeah, so the one that we've been kind of leaning around is capacity development, right? So there is a grant through the Canadian Ontario Job Grant, whereby you can be working to train your staff. And that's where it comes back into the power of team. right? If they want to see that you're building, so you need a hire, you need somebody on payroll. And I think where we've seen a lot in the last little bit has been primarily around funding. There is also the Shea Moisture grant right now for Black women. I think they're granting up to $10,000 if you submit a three-minute video. And again, knowing Shea Moisture, they are impact focused, right? So you definitely want to be in that vein of sorts.
Amazing. And I'm also very aware that at Empowered for X, you help people, through the grant writing process. You help people scale their business. Do you want to tell us more about some of the activities you have at Empowered for X for those who don't know about you?
Yeah. So thanks to that, we run a training and consulting firm, and we also have a physical co-working space. I'll start with the physical co-working space. So if you come to Brampton and you're just saying, hey, I need some Wi-Fi, I need a quiet place to work, please come visit us. We do a free day pass, we do a free week pass, just so people can plug into our space and get there. The benefit about the location is that we give entrepreneurs an opportunity to use our own business address as their own. When I first started back in 2014, I was using my parents' house address, and that created some issues, right? So when you put your house address for your business, people could show up at your door, right? And that creates safety issues for yourself and your family, which you don't want. So I always recommend entrepreneurs get a business address. We have 3, Ottawa, Scarborough, and Brampton, working on additional in that capacity. So from the training perspective, like what I'm doing here, talking about entrepreneurship, we offer a lot of free info session about grants available. We do stuff on sales, marketing, financial literacy. So if you want to learn something, plug in. We have upcoming things. We work with a lot of our partners to be able to facilitate that as well. It is so important if people don't have their MBA, or even if they have their MBA, it's different learning theory and actually living it, right? So you have to keep your learning fresh, right? So that's one around the training element. We also have certified training programs. If you were to take your employees through, you have an opportunity to get up to 100 if you're a nonprofit, and if you're a for-profit, you can get up to 83% back of the funds spent to train your employees, minus HST. And then the last piece is consultancy, right? So we come in as fractional CFOs, CEOs, COOs, CTOs to help people run their business, because again, looking at your business and the org chart, every single position on that org chart must be filled. And if it's just you, it's just you, right? So we really work hard here to help people shift from the DIY, so doing it yourself, to the modify, making others do it for you. And we're saying we're passionate entrepreneurs and professionals who want to see you win, and we will raise our hand to say we want to do it with you. So be it technology, marketing, operations, sales, financials, we have legal, we have a roster of people on our consultancy, not just to give advice, but we also have the capacity to get in the weeds with you, get in the trenches and do it, right? So we're excited about that.
Oh, that's powerful. And, speaking of that, I know there's a challenge coming up on the 19th. So can people still register for that? And you might just sort of tell us more about it very quickly, because it's one thing to hear about grants, funding, scaling, but when you are in a community where people are sharing their story, that's a different ballgame, because you're listening to success stories of people who, have gone through their Empowered for X training and consultancy and have their businesses right now. So do you want to share more about that, just so we have more information about the challenge, the 5 days challenge that I'm also proud to be part of?
Hey! The 5-day challenge is going to be amazing. I can honestly say that I'm excited because we have some guest speakers coming into the space as well. But really, it's about getting clear on your business, on your idea, right? Looking at what you're doing, the business model around that, being able to market it, looking at the measurement impact stuff, right? Because if you don't measure it, it doesn't matter. And then giving you the tools to go out and test. I find too many of us sometimes get in inertia, we get the knowledge, but we don't do anything with it. The goal is to take action, take action. So we have myself, Ryan, Zara, Qureshi, and additional guest speakers that will be coming in that week. Either you're hearing their stories, they're taking you through different components of the training, and we're really excited about that moving forward. And yeah, so the link is in, if you go to Empowered Facts, the link is in the bio. The core takeaway or objective, if I can say this, it is to get ready for what is out there. It is out there. The funding is out there. What we have seen in our community, one, we don't have the knowledge or awareness. So myself, my business partner, we're always talking about, did you know? Have you seen? Go here. And we do that for free. We're givers, right? In terms of wanting to see people win. The other thing, though, is preparation. We've seen a lot of entrepreneurs not being prepared or positioned to be able to access the funding. And that's the narrative that we're really working forward to change and really to support people in this way.
Oh, great. So you guys have heard it. After all is said and done today, she's talked about our organization. She's talked about how she's about the entrepreneurs. And now there's a 5 days grant. So take that as a post live session that you join right now to say, I am taking action. I've had the privilege of being in, clarity sessions with Chris, and believe me, I've learned so much from her. And I tell you one thing, when you're talking to a person who has, established something that is successful, somebody who has actually helped other people scale their business, they tell you the truth. They're not going to sugarcoat. Like, listen, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? And that's the kind of person she is. So believe me, you are going to get a hold on for 5 days. I'm very excited about it as well. It's from the 19th to 25th, right?
23rd, yes. So Monday to Friday, yes.
Yeah, so you see, it's 2 hours, right? 2 hours, you come 2 hours to it. And I'm going to share it as well with the community, because I know quite a number of women who would really love to take advantage of this and be part of it. So I just want to ask you, we've discussed your company, we've discussed the things you've done, Grant. I'm coming back to you right now. What are some of the challenges, because I always tell people, I love to hear not just the success story. I want to hear about the process, right? So what are some of the challenges you encounter as a business owner, and how do you navigate those challenges?
Hey, I would start, I think by the government's definition, I think they moved youth to 40 years old now. So I'm still a youth, and I appreciate my youthness. But I started in my late 20s, mid to late 20s, as a registered business owner, and I found going into spaces, people not taking what I have to say for truth, right? And so they look at you, they make a judgment, and they're like, why is she going to be on a stage? And then I share my story. I can show you the numbers. And I'm like, I've done this. I've made mistakes. I've learned. And then they're like, oh, I get it, right? So I think sometimes, and I was reading recently in the Bible, do not let people despise your youth. So I'm going to hold on to my youth and use it as my way, I really love the fact that, as I was learning, okay, so financial management, I will be honest. I always tell people I failed grade 10 math. And then I went on to math for everyday living in grade 11 once I made up that. And I failed, and then I aced math for everyday living. The difference, what I learned is that it just made it real, going to the grocery store, understanding taxes, all of this stuff. But what that also showed me is that my financial literacy and acumen needed a lot of work. So over the years, a common pitfall that I fell into early was, okay, you're collecting HST. That is not your money. That's the government's money, right? And so now I've paid all my bills and I'm still owing CRA. what is that, right? So I've learned and I've seen that, that financial growth. So today we have an internal CFO, that works with our numbers, works with our team to help one. And I love him because he educates as he's working with us, because he understands, okay, you're learning, you're growing, and I'm continuing to invest in that space. So taxes has been a huge learning for me in that way. I think team management. I talk about 5 Ds of leadership. The first one is you as the CEO making some key direction. You have to be able to be very clear about where you want to go and that message. The second one is you as the CEO need to do some key instrumental things. And at the beginning of your business or even at different stages, it is about keeping the pipeline full, right? Even on a more strategic level, bigger partnerships. But if your pipeline is not full, folks, we have no business. And I could tell you in my own journey, listen, I was hungry. I was knocking on doors. My marketing was on point. I went school to school, organization to organization, and I was booked solid for 4 months. And then guess what? Nobody was talking about my business. Nothing happened. So I served that 4 months. And at the end of 4 months, I'm like, so my message to everyone, if we're not doing that core element of getting people in front of our opportunities, we do a disservice. And guess what? At the end of that 4 months, it was me, oh my goodness, how do I do this? I'm starting to panic. There's no money. So being able to just learn from that experience, the funnel must always be full. That means you have to keep talking to many, 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 many people. And guess what? You're going to get some no's, but that's okay. It is about the law of averages, right? So you got to keep knocking. You got to keep that message and momentum going. And in my journey, and we're still learning and growing. We're getting lots of momentum. Things are progressing, but I think of myself still in school. I'm gathering and gleaning the knowledge and then putting it into action. And I shared, yes, I go to the class, I showed up, and nothing happens. Nothing will happen if you do nothing, right? You have a good idea and you don't put it into execution, and I can tell you opportunities pass you because of that, right? So those are some of the things that I would share. And my true hope for entrepreneurs is that we have to be doers, not just vision, not just sit with the vision, right? We have to get in motion. A lot of entrepreneurs, one of the things that I would say is this fear of talking about money as well. And I've seen it more in female entrepreneurs than male entrepreneurs, that, oh, I don't want to make the sale. For me, I think it has come with time, definitely. But if we're not asking for the sale, there's no business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my invitation is, for at least the perspective that I take, I present opportunities, and I know it's the law of averages, so I just have to keep presenting that opportunity. And I'm saying, if you're interested, great, we can help you. If you're not, great, go find the tool, and we give you tools to go try it for free. Go do it for free, right? It's not about the money per se for us. We love the money because it helps us do more of what we're doing, but from the vantage point of this opportunity is for everybody now, no, but you have to make an ask. Do you want to buy? Do you want help now? If the answer is no, then we keep the ball rolling.
That's powerful. I mean, there's a lot in what you just shared. While you were talking, I was trying to process and sort of like visualize your journey, and that brings me to who were some of the people, because I want to believe that there are people who inspire you. So whether women, men, people who you just look up to, or people who just inspire you.
Yeah.
Who are those?
Yeah. So I would say I first got my intro to entrepreneurship when I was 16 years old as well, with my dad. So he was definitely the person saying, hey, come and see this opportunity, support me. So I give my dad thumbs up for that. I would say my parents in general, both mom and dad, have been supportive. I like to share my mom is of the perspective of go to school, get a good education, get a government job. And when I was telling her, go to school, get a good education, government job, but I want to leave that to start something new, some resistance, right? But I think over the years, being able to demonstrate that this thing is working, it's flourishing, she is now coming to me, what entrepreneurial ideas can I do? So I love it. I love that. Apart from, my family, really looking to that mentor. Her name is Camille Bignell. She was the one who asked me, find yourself on the scale, the alphabet. Who can you help? You can help somebody. So I oftentimes think about her. Apart from that, I've had, and I believe you know him, Esther, Ryan Knight. In 2014, when I first met Ryan, I had just started my training for young entrepreneurs to learn about entrepreneurship, and he gave me the opportunity, right? And since then, we've built businesses together. He's a great guy that really cares about seeing the community win, and we're good with that, I'm happy to have him in my corner. There are tons of people, but I would say Jim Rohn, from a book perspective, Jim Rohn has definitely been someone I say I wish I've met him while he was alive. I think just on a personal development front, so many good nuggets about understanding self and value bringing to the marketplace. The current mentor that I am looking at, his name is Miles Golden. He is a Christian entrepreneur doing amazing things, helping people. And I love that biblical perspective. As a Christian, I believe that, God has put me on this planet for a purpose, and I want to live that purpose fully. So I love that. Yeah, so those are some of the mentors that I have, but really when I meet people, I see it from the perspective, young or old, what value can I give to you, but also what value can you give to me? And I feel like I'm the student, I'm listening. I'm like, what nuggets can I take away from this? So even this interaction, Esther, you don't know what you're doing, but you're definitely reminding me of something that I have done in the past. Sometimes fear, I didn't mention fear before, but sometimes in my own journey, just dealing with some insecurities and stuff and realizing, Chris-Beth, you see this opportunity or hurdle and you're feeling all fearful, look back, you've done it before. You're an overcomer. And so for me, it's really about that perspective of saying, I've done it before, so I can do it again, and I will do it again, right? So, I go back to my my faith as a huge inspiration to keep the ball going when I feel stuck. So I will share that.
That's beautiful. I was just going to add to what you said. It's imposter syndrome as well, and I think a lot of women, suffer from that a lot, and that is because women, we've been trained in a particular way. Like, you've got to be strong. When you have that bad day, get up again and do it. And sometimes people don't give you grace enough when you fail, when you make mistakes. So when we have a win, we are questioning the win. Like, really? Do I deserve that? Right? Is that me? But like you said, that self-awareness where you bring yourself back to yourself to say, yes, I have done the work. Yes, I deserve it. So I'm happy you shared that part. And like I said, I always love when people share not just the beauty of their journey, but also some of the mistakes, the challenges, and how they're able to overcome it. So just a quick recap, guys. There's going to be a 5 days funding challenge from Empowered Forex. For those of you who are entrepreneurs here in Canada, if you want to join, kindly go on Empowered Forex bio, click on it. Of course, you're going to have an array of different messages. Believe me, they are packed. The website, the other day, I took my time, I went through your website. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, where do I start?
Hey, power of team, the power of team. We can only do it. Listen, I'm one person. I'm confined to 24 hours a day. It's impossible,
Yeah.
right? So if for one person to do, and this is why I love team. One of my business partners, she is an amazing developer, technical person. I call her the tech genius in my life. But really from the perspective of, we have a tech division that is running. We're helping people build websites. We're helping people build applications. We're doing it in a way, again, looking at it through an impact lens. So we're talking about developing tools and resources for people with different disabilities or accessibility needs. And so really from that perspective, I cannot say I'm standing here alone. I'm standing with giants. And I love the fact that, you know, we can use each other. And the truth is, entrepreneurship is hard. So if you don't want, the late nights, the stress, the anxiety of paying payroll, where's the money for it? I will never sit here and say it's all glitz and glamour, because it's not. It is your blood, sweat, and tears coming into this space, right? But the beauty is you don't have to do it alone. And you by surrounding yourself with people who have the knowledge, the capacity, the experience, you get to overcome so many pitfalls, right? You can learn. And I love entrepreneurship. The beauty about entrepreneurship, although it's hard, it's also easy, because you're building the life of your dreams. And so that's why I tell people, do what you love. If you cannot take, a boss, and mind you, when you're an entrepreneur, your client, who are hundreds or thousands of people, they're now your boss. So you go from one boss to thousands of bosses, right? So it's a whole different perspective. But I love the fact with entrepreneurship, you get the freedom, you get the ability. But if, I see people starting out their businesses and they're not paying themselves from the jump, or not factoring paying themselves from the jump, the truth is you're doing a disservice, because the question is, who's going to show up to do your work for free? Nobody, right? So from the jump and from the way that you build your business, it matters, right? Is this thing truly sustainable? Is the question, going back to that point, right? And it's hard, it's beautiful, it's stressful, it's very rewarding, right? I think, and it done best in community. I will say there's no self-made millionaire. I don't believe it. I don't live it. I feel like, yes, you as a leader, you definitely need to facilitate that growth and personal development and all of those things. But it's only when we engage with people that the magic happens. You help a customer, like that's somebody else. That's not just you, right? So even if you're a YouTuber, TikToker, people are still adding value to who you are for you to get and achieve those things. So I don't believe in self-made from the perspective that the media oftentimes portray it, right? There's an army behind.
Yeah. And speaking of the media, I was just going to say that, before we started the session, I went online to just get more information about your work over the years. And I would say that, there's a lot of amazing stuff about you out there in the media, which brings me to the question. I have discovered a lot of entrepreneurs here in Canada, mostly, they don't harness the power of the media enough to put their business out there. So what would you say to a person who is just starting out, or I've started a business but still don't have that media strength to say, hey, this is what I do? Because sometimes people don't want to come to you to get your bio with a profile, right? Some people just want to go on Google, get your name, pull your name up and see what you do before they meet you.
Yeah.
Right. So what advice would you give to, such entrepreneurs who still do not harness the power of the media to put their work out there?
Hey, I will sit here and say I'm guilty. as well. I could definitely use your services for sure. But the coverages that we have gotten, and I remember when we first launched Empowered Facts, the physical co-working space in here, Brampton Guardian came to feature us, right? We were new in Brampton, so we leveraged that. We say, hey, new co-working space, get in, and they came and saw the space, and we got that. But I think as someone who is not active in that type of space, I don't want to say I know and fully understand, because yes, we've done a couple, but not a whole lot, and wanting more. So what I've benefited from those little exposures that we have had is people find us, people show up, people call, right? So if you are the next thing like sliced bread and nobody knows, right? You don't have a business, you don't have something that is truly bringing value. If you talk about don't put your light under the bushel,
Yeah.
don't hide your value, don't hide your gifts. So I think the power of media enables you to reach, right? The first part on the entrepreneurial journey or the customer journey is that level of awareness, right? So the media will help to bring that awareness and professionalism about your business. And so to be able to leverage that to go into rooms, and I know we've leveraged it from the perspective of featured by, sponsored by, to be able to say we are media recognized, right? So I think being able to do those things, and definitely I think if you have the capacity to bring somebody like yourself on board, your profile will only be heightened, right? It's about numbers. More people know you, the more value you get to bring. Less people knows you, yeah.
The less right. And just to have, because since it's my field, one thing I was discussing with a woman yesterday who I've done so much in Canada. Like, I checked out her profile, she sent me like a hippie, and I'm like, God, like, you have so much going on in the community. And then we went on Google, we did a screen share, and she saw it herself. There was nothing. It was just a profile, her Facebook, and that was it. And she said, oh, but we went to this event and they took our picture. I said, no. Now, that is the problem. You all think when you go for events and you take those photos, it means that you have the media exposure. The people who own the event know the photos they want to send to the media. And your photo might not make it to the media, right? However, when you go for those events, you leverage it to also put your brand out there. But beyond that, just intention. And I tell people, intentionally put yourself out there. Chris has shared a lot of nuggets today. After all is said and done, when you do the work, make sure you have at least social media, which I preach to people right now. You want to talk to somebody, have socials. Let them check out your work. Let your socials be free of drama as well. Let it talk about your work and the things that you do. And then you leverage the mainstream and traditional media to sort of like create that media exposure that is evergreen. Meaning, as long as those media platforms exist, people are going to see you. And I'm speaking to female business owners most especially, because one thing I learned from one of the top people at Wikipedia is that they have more men reaching out to them to say, hi, I need a profile. But they hardly have women coming to them to make such requests. What does that mean? Like you said earlier on, a lot of us don't leverage. We're so comfortable. And if you look at, I've done the work, I don't need to stress. Yes, you don't need to stress, but one of the conversations I had with you, and you were talking about leaving a legacy. Sometimes your legacy is going to be people reading about you before they meet you. Your legacy might be your children using you as a bragging right at school. Like, yo, you see my mom on Google? Come see Chris-Beth. That's my mom, right? Hey. You get what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. So to every business owner who is going to watch this, I want to say, please leverage the media as well. After all is said and done, get all the knowledge you need for funding, structuring, scaling, building a business, teams, all of it. But then also put media, in view of your business to help your business. So, Chris, before we wrap up, if I were to be an entrepreneur, an immigrant who just came to Canada, and I come to Empowered Forex, what would you tell me? And I say, I want to start a business. I don't know what to do. What should you say to me?
Yeah, and I value the question. From a advising perspective, I never like to give people ideas. I like to get to know the person. So I would say, hey, what are some of the things that you're interested in? Is there any issues or challenges that you see out there that connects to your heartstring? Like really an understanding of yourself. And if you're saying, hey, I wanna, recently we worked with someone who, worked in the space with battered women and was like, hey, I want to do something in that space. Okay, let's explore what type of businesses can support solving these issues, right? So then we go into an exploratory thing. Is it something technical that you're looking to develop? Is it something more product or service based that you want to generate? What is the long-term vision of it? Is it, oh, I just want to start a thing today? Or is it something that you want to have a legacy, going back to what you're saying, that legacy 10, 50, 100 years from now, someone's going to remember, hey, this person saw a problem, they saw a need, and they created something that has positively impacted my generations, So from that perspective, it's you. What do you want to do? Do you have the time and the capacity to invest in this? Because again, people say they want to start a business. They say they're an entrepreneur, but when we look at their schedule, you don't have the time. You don't have the effort. So let's be realistic about what you want to start, right? I think as new immigrants, it is important in this country as an immigrant myself. I was 13 years when I came to Canada. My parents were in their 30s, right? Young parents with 4 kids. That's a lot, right? So also thinking about if entrepreneurship is a pathway, which it is, to set yourself and your family apart, it's a great time. Great time to plug in, right? But again, if you try to do it alone in an economy that you don't understand, it proves to be very challenging. So that's where it's important to surround yourself with people in the know and with a heart to give and share and impact your life that can help you move forward.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. Guys, listen, I came here today to learn from Chris, and I've learned, and relearn, and I'm going to be part of the challenge. One thing about Canada, let me just compliment what she said, is networking. Listen, you got to pay for access sometimes. And paying for access means you showing up to certain events, even if it's something that does not align with your industry. Showing up, paying to have access to certain spaces. What it does is to build the strength of your network. And that's one thing that I'm learning fast in Canada, right? So, and Chris has a platform for that in EmpoweredX. There are resources to let you understand the community, to let you know how to structure, how to scale, what is going on in the funding and grant sector. What can you plug yourself into? And all of that. So please follow Empowered4X to know more about, Chris's work. And, like I said, you're an entrepreneur here and you want to start your business. For those who are going to watch on YouTube, at Empowered4X are you on Facebook as well?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
with the
so
same handle. The same handle.
Yeah, the same handle. Maybe at some point we might even come back a couple of months down the line to have like a StreamYard kind of section where we can stream to Facebook as well, and so that people can learn. But it's been an amazing session. Thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to seeing you on the 19th.
Hey, listen, I'm excited. We've been talking, the team's been talking, going through the content, value. I just want to say, what you put in is what you're going to get out, and what you put in, you're going to get more than what you put in, right? So the truth is these consultants are working on a daily basis in this space, and they're going to be pouring into you over the next 5 days. So I'm really excited about that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I wish you beautiful weekend.
Hey.
And see you next week, God's willing. Have a good one. For everyone that joined the session today, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. And like I said, this session is going to be on YouTube. So it's just not going to fizzle out on Instagram. It's going to be on YouTube for people to watch. And if you have family members that you want them to watch to know more about, the business side of Canada, how to integrate into the system, funding, all of it, come on my YouTube channel. I will also add a description on the YouTube channel where you can link back to, Chris and our team and just speak directly to them. All right? All right, Chris, have a good one. I wish you a beautiful one.
Thank you.
Enjoy it.